Hello, I am back for part 2 of embroidering an animal, and I have in this video want to introduce you to an embroidery needle and embroidery thread. Now this is actually crochet thread and it looks like this when you purchase it. You can buy the embroidery thread. It's a little bit more difficult because it has more than one strand. And this is an embroidery needle. And what I want you to see here is, this is an embroidery needle. These are needles that you would use at home for sewing. They are much, much smaller. So that's an embroidery needle and this is a regular needle. And you can see the size of the hole is much bigger. Obviously, this thread is not going to be able to go through that hole. So make sure if you don't have this or you're doing this at home that you have to have an embroidery needle. So the first thing I did is, if you get a kit for me, I actually just do this. I wrap this around my hand about 20 times to give you a good amount of thread. I have also, if you didn't notice, I felt like my cat needed a little more something, and so I added some little ears up here. So for today, we are going to sew our be careful when you unroll this. You don't want to make a big mess like I just did. Okay. I would take this thread and get our first piece of thread ready. I usually say about an arm's length of thread. So there's probably 2 or 3 arm's lengths of thread in your little wrap. So here is my arm's length of thread. If you are really good, you can just put your thread through your needle. It's a little hard, and I have to hold it at the very tip and push that in there. However, something else that you can do is take a little strip of paper. You are going to fold it in half, and this is very, very thin. You're going to take this strip of paper, fold it in half, put your thread in there, the end of your thread, and hold it. So then you have to put this paper through your needle and I lost my thread. I'll be honest, it's probably easier if I make that not quite so long. So once again, have my little triangle, my little rectangle, I folded it in half. I'm going to put the end of my thread in there. Gonna pinch it, and I'm going to put my needle through. And that is an easy way to thread a embroidery needle. So I'm now gonna take this, and I want you all to make your thread so the 2 ends come together. We are gonna sew with both of these in here because I don't like for kids to tie a knot up at the front because it's really hard to pull your embroidery thread to. And if we just have that piece hanging off the side, that's often very problematic as well. So what we're gonna do is take these 2 pieces. You take these 2 ends, they go on top of this thread, then they go underneath it, and you are going to pull and try to make that knot at the end of your thread. This is very difficult. No tears. Do you hear me? No tears out there, kids. It is good to try hard things. This might be one of the hardest parts of this project for you. So you may have to have an adult help you, or you may have to go back and keep rewatching my tutorial. But you are basically taking your thread, putting it on the top, and then tucking it underneath through that hoop, and then you pull that knot tight. So there's my knot. And I'm going to take all of these pieces off of my embroidery now. And I am just going to sew my face on. And I'm going to do that with a running stitch. I do want to make sure I start from underneath my fabric. Oops. So you have to hold that down. I'm starting underneath and coming up. And the reason is so your knot is going to be underneath the fabric. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to sew. I'm probably going to put this on fast mode, and I will talk to you when I am done sewing around my kitty. I will tell you, you want fairly small stitches. And this is the first time that you're going to be doing this, so you are not going to be the best at it. You are going to have to make one that is maybe not your favorite, because then when you make a second one, it'll, I am sure, be even better than the first. Okay, at this point, my thread is starting to get pretty small. You're gonna have to be able to tie a knot with this, so I think I can go a little bit further. And as you can see from mine, my stitches get better as I go along. As you get warmed up and you get better at stitching, you're going to be able to stitch this better. If you accidentally go underneath, you're gonna have to try to pull your needle out or have your parent do that. You always wanna go under and then back to the top. And I have to put my finger on there to give myself enough pressure so that I can do that. You can also take and pull your fabric tighter, and that kind of helps have that pressure so that you can push that needle through the thick fabric, because it's a pretty big needle. So I have come to the point where if I make this, if I go any further with this string, I'm not going to be able to tie a knot very well with it. So at this point, with about 3 inches left, which is about one of my fingers, I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to tie a knot like how you would tie your tennis shoes. I'm going to go over and back under, pull it tight, over, back under through my hole, and pull it tight. Okay, I'm going to cut that down there, and now I'm going to have to restring my thread. So I'm going to pull out my little handy dandy tiny rectangle. I'm going to put my thread on here, thread my needle, all right, there's my needle threaded. You got to be careful with this thread because it can really get tangled. I already had a knot in there. Okay, I'm going to put my 2 ends together and having issues with my contact, excuse me. And I'm going to tie my knot. And now I'm going to, wherever I stopped, I'm going to restart again on the back, and I'm going to finish up my stitches here. So So that didn't pull all the way through. I'm seeing what happened. I'm not sure. There we go. You always want to pull it so it's pulled all the way through. Okay, I'm going to finish this up in fast motion. Okay, so I have just finished stitching my cat all the way around, and I have a lot of string left on the back. What I can do is try to decide if I would like to use this green stitching thread before I pull it out of anywhere else. I think I would like to stitch my nose with the green stitching thread, and I think I'm gonna stitch my ears with the green stitching thread. So I'm going to simply kind of take my eyes off because I'm going to use a different color for those. And I'm going to take my thread from where it's at under here. Oops. Oh, there it is. I thought I lost my ear, but I didn't. All right, I'm going to first